Eastern Cape businessman Major Mfesane Bhekizulu has reportedly denied allegations that he's behind the murder of his girlfriend Namhla Mtwa. That's according to a report carried by News 24 tonight. The 35-year-old OR Tambo municipality employee was shot 9 times last month while sitting in her car. For more on this story, let's speak to human rights advocate Steve Letsike. Steve, another woman killed in a driveway, a month on, still no arrests, a denial by her longtime partner that he was responsible after accusations that he'd abused her for a very long time, and people, including the family, suspected that he was behind this shooting. How high are your hopes that justice will actually be seen in this case?
No, thank you so much. Good evening to you and to the viewers of Newzroom. Look, this is additional matters that we continue to read about, to hear about, to see, observe in our lifetime. And one should not run away when we experience what we call intimate partner violence. And South Africa really struggles so much on that. We have at least over or between 25 to 50% of many intimate partner violence that happens, again, in the hands of men, in the hands of partners in that matter. It continues to be a serious problem worldwide, but it significantly continues to be a high prevalence here in South Africa because women experience intimate partner violence for that matter. This is really a very sad moment for us as a country. And while we talk a lot about this, just a few minutes ago, I received another message saying that we've experienced another murder of a lesbian woman. So we're counting bodies, and women's bodies are a site of crime in South Africa. So
in Namhla's case, while there's yet to be a conviction as far as the murder against the boyfriend, as things stand tonight, her family, her sister, has taken to social media. Other people who knew her have also been posting, detailing that they had known for a while that she was in an abusive relationship. And that's not an uncommon thing in South African society, isn't it, where a woman is being abused, people know, yet nothing is actually happening.
No, indeed. I mean, look, if you look at some of the stories, some of the social media evidence that is brought forward, which is sad because, I mean, it's happening while Namhla has now passed on. But, I mean, this is more women that we are counting who actually experience this daily. Of approximately of 1/3 of women who actually experience violence, physical and sexual, for that matter, by their intimate partners. And unfortunately, in the case of Namhla, there has not been arrest, as you have articulated. Of course, there's that bail that we've seen, but there's also a denial of this. But there's evidence that is produced, that really link the partner to this matter. It does not ignore the fact that, Namhla had experienced while she was alive abuse physically in that matter, and that was brought forward, and evidence was brought forward. We can't deny it. We can't put a blind eye on it.
Well, it's also brought us back to that recurring question that irritates many activists, the question of why did a woman stay? And the reasons, as we know, are far more complex than just getting up one morning and leaving your abuser because you can.
Yeah, I think, until we understand that really, there's really adverse and quite a number of consequences, that are negative. They transcend quite a number of issues, social, economic, as well as, health for that matter. I think if one reads, the extent of mental, health, that depression, anxiety, that Namhla had gone through with all those messages that were shared, it signals, a cry, a fear, and scary moment of whether, Namhla was reached out or was supported or was even considered, which is known factor for the family as well. But there are implications for many women, whether they find themselves in a situation that they can either get out or they cannot get out for that matter. And unfortunately, it was a cry that was evidently produced by Namhla herself. We cannot actually want to, way whether one is able to get out. If you have significant support, if the justice system or law enforcement act swiftly to actually reach the most vulnerable on time, when the reports, any first report or any kind of assumption that may be put forward to say that, look, there's a threat here, we need to be acting on it. And we need to also act against the perpetrator, because often women find themselves being the one, when they are victimized in any way, they are the one that needs to be moving. They are the one that needs to be put on a shelter. They are the one that are actually subjected to this very same traumatic experience, while perpetrators hang around and they still have fun. They're still able to commute to work. And I think it's evident enough with Namhla's situation.
What then are we missing in the conversation about gender-based violence and femicide in South Africa? Because you and I have had countless of these conversations before, and sadly, given where we are, even the crime stats can attest to this, we're likely to have to come on air and talk again about the murder of a woman. Just earlier, we were talking about the rape and murder of a 6-year-old child in this very program. And you wonder, what are we missing? Why are we still not seeing a change?
Look, I think there are quite a number of direct and indirect pathways we need to think about. President Ramaphosa adopted and signed into law several laws just over a year ago, and these are really harsh, completely laws that says we are taking gender-based violence seriously. But what we know is that law on itself is not enough. What we are missing, it's really the social fabric, the prevention fabric to really address these issues. What we know, South Africa spent 45 billion annually to respond to gender-based violence. Now, we can't always respond. We need to be proactive. And what we need to very much put in the forefront of our pathway, it's the prevention agenda. But we need to address the social element. I think we cannot accept men, our neighbors who are brothers, the husbands, the partners, and many other things, uncles, fathers, who are perpetrators, to be let go. We have normalized this in society. This is the time where we continuously say, don't let us just speak. We must act as society. If I hear somebody, my neighbor, my sister, who is experiencing, what is my act, what is my role in that case? But also, how do we actually start to normalize prevention and even avoidance of such? How do we build education aspect? How do we influence the idea of addressing toxic society, patriarchy and misogyny that exist in society, where we cannot accept it? And I think this is something that it's really significantly important for us, because just even with the National Strategic Plan that was launched, again, President Ramaphosa launched it, there was a commitment of 2.1 billion. A few days ago, we had a meeting around gender-based violence task team, and where we're asking, what is that accountability element? Where do we see the socially driven agenda by local implementation level, that it's not only at the apex level of national level? We're talking about the social fabric. What is the mayor doing? What is the councillor doing together with the communities? If community policing forums are functional with those stations, so we need to act swiftly. We cannot accept gender-based violence or any violence attack on women, children, or even on LGBTI or elderly people anymore. That can't be acceptable.